Whatever you're funny, Peacock's got it exclusively. Bears beats The Office on Peacock. Stream every moment from Dunder Mifflin and explore bonus extras and exclusives. Plus, if you're looking for more classic hits, you can stream every episode of Parks and Recreation, 2.5 Men, and every season of SNL. In the mood for something brand new? Check out Peacock's original comedies, The Amber Ruffin Show, and Saved by the Bell. Whether you're craving a new binge or familiar fave, you can find tons of comedy hits on Peacock. Get started for free at peacocktv.com.
You have entered Untold Radio AM. And now broadcasting from a secret location, your hosts, Joel Sturgis and Doug Highcheck. And welcome to this edition of Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Highcheck. Tonight we've got a great show on tap. As always, got a couple great guests. Two of them for the price of one. Shelly, Cummington, Montana, and Michael Waldie, right? Is that how he pronounces his last name?
Waldie.
Waldie. Oh, Waldie, making sure. Yeah, we got them coming on. We're going to be talking about the science of Bigfoot. You're not going to want to go anywhere for that one. And they're doing some great stuff. I talked to them this afternoon, and they're really pushing that envelope. I'm really excited to talk with them, and that'll be the bottom of the hour. And they're doing stuff right now with Bigfoot evidence collection that's going to blow your mind. I mean, and what they're doing to cameras and stuff like that. So stick around for the bottom of the hour. We're going to get them on and talk all about that. So, Doug, how the hell are you doing, by the way, before I forget to ask?
I'm doing good. How do you like our weather? It's kind of nuts.
We're getting like 10 inches of snow.
And
bear in mind.
And Joel, I'm getting tornadoes.
And you're getting tornadoes. But bear in mind, folks, it was just yesterday 60 degrees.
Yep.
Just yesterday. Less than 24 hours ago, 60 degrees out. And now we're going to get pummeled with tornadoes and snow. What the hell, man?
Snownado.
The government needs to stop messing with our weather. Put the harp away for a little while.
Yep.
If that's the case, which we all know it's not. It's just fun to say. It's just fun to blame somebody.
They could be.
You never know.
They could be.
Do you think they are, Doug?
Well, I put it this way. It wouldn't be hard to do it. Just heat the atmosphere. You just heat it up with microwave energy. So, no.
Didn't they mess with the weather in China right before the Olympics?
Don't know.
They're doing cloud seeding and stuff like that.
Yeah, we've been messing with the weather forever.
Yeah.
But are they heating and cooling the upper atmosphere? That's the question.
Well, I mean, that's a touchy subject, though, because it kind of tiptoes into global warming, too.
Joel, we could probably go on YouTube, find out how to build one of those antennas, and we could do a mini harp.
We could. I mean, I think we should. We should give that a try and see
what
happens.
Just get a terrain over your house.
No, I was thinking we'd go down where you are.
A little mini tornado.
You know, just because there's more collateral damage where you are than that would happen here. And so if we got a tornado, it's actually going to do something. Here, it's going to, rip up a couple trees?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Yeah. We suffered severe storm damage at my home, which really, if you look at it compared to what other people suffer, it wasn't that bad. It was huge hail. Broke a bunch of windows, wrecked the siding, wrecked the trim, wrecked the roof. But yet we still had a roof over our head.
Yeah, you could still live in the home.
Yes, it wasn't that bad. But the amount of work it took to get it fixed is like enough to put you into post-traumatic stress disorder.
I suppose you had workers crawling all over the place fixing this house.
No, it's dealing with the adjusters.
Oh, yeah.
With the contractors. Dealing with the inspectors. Dealing over and over and over. And all the...
Yeah.
It's really a mess.
It is a mess. Anytime you have to deal with an insurance company, it's going to be... we all pay our premiums. And if you don't pay, oh, my God, they go crazy. But when you need payment from them... Yep. It is a real ordeal.
Yeah,
It is not an easy experience
No.
at all. But when they have money coming to them, that's a completely different ballgame. You got to be Johnny on the spot with that.
Okay, from where I'm at, I can see this big blue folder. I'm not exaggerating. It is 12 inches thick of paperwork.
Wow.
From fixing the home.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
12
Man.
inches of paper.
That's a lot of paperwork just to get your house fixed, just to get the product that you paid for.
Yep. And in the commercials, you just make one call and everything's taken care of.
Like a good neighbor.
Yeah. So I feel bad for anybody that does suffer storm damage.
Yeah, I do too. And so we're praying for all the people that are in the bullseye for the tornadoes. Are you in the bullseye of the tornado zone, or are you on the outskirts, Doug? We lost sound from you. Not sure where your sound went. There we go. Hey, you're back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
That was down in southern Minnesota, and they had to snake their way through actual tornadoes.
Oh, that is scary, scary stuff.
Yep.
And she's fine, right?
Yep.
Yvette
Yep.
is fine. Good. Good.
Yep.
That's the most important part, that she got home safe
Yep.
and sound.
Yep.
And wasn't hurt at all. You know, I got a question for you, Doug, and I know because it's been talked about here, because TV is rapidly changing in the last even year. It has really, really changed quickly. I think it really began changing fast once Disney came out with Disney Plus. Remember that? And because we always had like Netflix and Amazon and stuff like that, but then Disney Plus kind of came along, and then everybody else, or a lot of other companies, followed suit, having their own streaming services. And the question is, from a lot of people, is cable TV on its last legs? Are we looking at TV changing? And you're an insider on TV.
Sure.
You know how it works. You know the protocol. Are we looking at a big paradigm shift in entertainment now?
Yeah, but I still don't think it'll happen overnight. The audiences are dwindling with any of the network shows because people are binge watching series, which is nice. Mm-hmm. People are streaming a program when they want to watch it. You can surf the TV guide, or you can go to your guide and you can, watch this for a minute, but you got to sit through, oh my God, 6 minutes of commercials.
Yeah. I speaking of commercials, I was watching a program called The Walking Dead with my wife the other night.
Okay.
And I took note how many commercial breaks there were.
Yep.
About every 10 minutes, there was a commercial break.
Yep.
You get 10 minutes of programming, then boom, commercial break. And these commercials would last 5 to 6 to 8 minutes, these breaks.
Yeah.
So it's almost getting equal part program to advertisement. It really I'm a Netflix watcher, so it almost kills the flow of the show for me, because I'm not used to that.
Yeah. See, okay, so here's the double whammy that a lot of people haven't thought about. You just brought up a really good point. Because the entire population is getting spoiled by no commercials, or very little. Like at Hulu, if it's free, you have to maybe watch one commercial. And there's a timer on it. It's 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. And it might only be one time during an entire program. But so we're all getting that perspective. And so if there was no Netflix, you probably wouldn't notice sitting through 5 minutes of commercials. But now you're like, ooh, I don't like these things.
But when we grew up, both of us grew up without the internet.
Oh, of course.
So I mean, TV commercials were just something, just a necessary evil to see your program.
Yep.
All the kids coming up now that have grown up with the internet, and Netflix has already been around since 1998.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've been around a long time now. So there's kids listening right now that don't know anything but what we're experiencing now, with Netflix and stuff.
Oh, I'll guarantee you there are 15-year-olds that have never once seen a commercial.
Yeah. Excuse me. And then you have platforms like YouTube. Again, they make you sit through a commercial, but you usually can skip them.
Yep, you can usually.
And you get right into your content.
Yep.
And so, I'm watching steadily, we're like Spectrum, for instance. used to advertise their great TV package, and then the internet was second. You can get internet with us too, but here let's talk about the TV options. Now it's flipped around where it's all about the internet, and the TV is just something you happen to get with the bundle that nobody really cares about.
Yep. But they're still thinking they can bring very exclusive, unique content to their networks that you're going to be willing to suffer through those commercials. Mm-hmm. Because, when I get the feedback is when I'm in a pitch session and they go, well, we need it more bombastic. We need weirder situations. We need a lot of, they wanted the amazing to try to hang on to the viewers that they're losing.
I suppose they need a cliffhanger almost every commercial break to make them sit through that commercial.
Yep. Yeah. And for guys like me, it seems more prestigious to have something on, Discovery Channel than on Netflix.
Yeah.
But that's shifting too. I'm starting to see, some producers are just going, nope, I'm not doing any more pitches. I'm going to do my program and I'm going to sell it to Amazon or Netflix or whatever.
But doesn't capital to produce it come into play, though? I mean, if you're going to go and make a Netflix show and you're going to sell it after the fact to Netflix, you got to have that money in the bank to produce that thing.
Yes, but TV production has come down. Cameras are cheaper. They're better. For instance, we used to have to buy a movie light, buy a 1K light. That was thousands of dollars. Now a 1K LED light, you probably get it for $30. Some off.
They actually filmed a movie, I want to say it was 2 or 3 years ago, using exclusively iPhones.
Oh, yeah.
That was the only, I remember it was a big deal for Apple.
Yep.
This movie was filmed using Apple.
Yep. Feature films shot with iPhones.
That just strikes me as so amazing.
Yep.
That we've gone from these big Panavision films, or these big giant cameras, down to a cell phone could film a feature movie.
Yeah, they can. Yep. But still only a few producers who have the talent to actually pull something off that isn't so cheesy.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
Then there's that.
Oh, speaking of, I saw an amazing documentary. I really liked it. It was very simple. So this guy, he was a snowboarder, and he ended up getting injured in a car accident where he couldn't snowboard. And I think one day he was watching somebody who was out collecting bottles and cans, a homeless person. But he watched them race down a hill at 70 kilometers.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, we're talking skill to get in a shop, to hang on to a shopping cart, go down like Vancouver or like San Francisco or somewhere where they have a lot of hills. And so he befriended one of these guys and got into their whole culture and found out there's kind of a competitive nature to this kart racing. And
amongst the homeless population.
Oh, yeah, and they get hurt really bad in falls. I mean, this guy's going, yep, here's one I got, 40 stitches, and here's I ripped my arm open, and they actually filmed some of these falls. But, it's absolutely amazing. Here, I can find the name of it. I wrote it down somewhere here.
It was probably Netflix, wasn't it?
No, it was on YouTube, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Our documentary. And I think, was I smart enough to send it to me? Probably not. Sometimes I think I'm really smart.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever see these documentaries and say to yourself, why the hell did I think of that?
Yeah, exactly. But anyhow, I just thought it was unique. It was cool. It was a cool film. But that's the kind of film that would just take a bunch of time, no money. Yeah. Because the content is everything. Mm-hmm. And when I was at the NAB convention, which is kind of the stuffy, high-end equipment television convention in Vegas.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there in line, and every producer had their eyes glued to this TV, watching this shaky, grainy footage. All these high-end producers were all just staring. Could hear a pin drop in this room. And it was footage of a kid getting kidnapped.
Oh my God.
So, but but you could hear a pin drop in the room. That was full of probably, maybe the top 100 producers in the country. And they're just glued to that. And that's when it really hit me that content was far more important than quality. It's content.
Well, look at it. I'm gonna say a couple movies to you here that were next to nothing to make but made well over $500 million in the box office.
Yep.
Blair Witch Project.
Yep. There's a great example.
And Paranormal Activity.
Yep.
Both those were shot for under $50,000.
Oh, Joel, can I tell you the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd lower that about 10 times of what it was. That's probably including post-production where they decided to.
Introducing touch-free payments from PayPal, a safe way for your customers to pay. Simply download the PayPal app and display your own unique QR code for your customers to scan. Whether you're a market seller,
I'll take 2 tomatoes and a cucumber,
poodle pamperer, piano tuner, or plumber. Signing up to accept touch-free payments for your business is easy. Touch-free QR code payments. Shop safe with PayPal.
Streaming only on Peacock.
John Wayne Gacy killed 32.
Straight from the killer's mouth.
They want you to believe that I alone committed these murders.
The new gripping 6-part documentary series, John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise. All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
To bring it into a theater, and then they decided to pump money into it, but to actually shoot it, no.
Was like
no.
Next to nothing, I'm sure.
Yeah, nothing. Probably nothing. Probably no cash other than the equipment.
They're taking this content.
Yes.
Like you mentioned, content is king now.
Right.
And instead of having these big, huge productions that that have been in the past, they're taking these almost like a guerrilla style film crew out and capturing life as it happens. Kind of use on quotations filmmaking.
Yep.
And I noticed that the shaky cam filmmaking became all the rage for a long time. After Blair Witch came out, everywhere was that shaky cam, found footage.
But one thing the Blair Witch Project still had was storytelling. I get movies I have to screen all the time that are more like drama movies, that people decide to make or get together, or producers who don't really have a great amount of experience. And they hire actors and, they do the whole, more amateur type actors, and they try to pull it off for a song. And sometimes it works perfect and they're amazing. And sometimes they're hard.
I was talking with the founder of Blumhouse a long time ago about, because they put out those horror flicks. I mean, just a mass amount of them.
Yep.
Like you'll see like 30 of them out there from Blumhouse. And he said, I only need one to hit.
Oh, yeah.
I only need one big hit, and the rest of them are paid for.
Yeah.
So that's why we do so many of them, because I only need one. Like the one he was referring to that hit was something called Happy Death Day. Or, instead of Happy Birthday, and that happened to get a big theatrical release, and it paid for all these 50 other movies, or what have you, whatever the number was, some high number, that failed. And paid for it many times over. It's like he was saying, it's all about for him, it was about the quantity of product out there.
Sure, everybody has their own strategy. Yep.
But,
I do feel bad, though, for people who think, God, I can get a camera for $5,000. And my God, you can get a 8K camera, that was an extremely vivid, clear pictures. And then they kind of get themselves deep, and then they spend life savings, and then they end up with a product that's like really bad, and you can't even get it on Amazon. It's
like the movie The Room with Johnny. You know what I'm talking about? The Room.
No, I don't.
The world's worst movie.
No, I'm not aware of it.
This filmmaker, and his name is escaping me. I don't know his first name. Was it Johnny Manziel, or no? That couldn't have been his name. He filmed the world's worst movie. Look into it sometime. The Room. It's not Room. The Room. In that movie, he played it so seriously, like it was like his life's work to do this movie, and it was so bad, it was so horrible, that a film studio made a documentary about making that movie, and it made a bunch of money. It had the actor, and it was James Franco ended up playing the lead, and they took this documentary style film about making this horrible movie and made millions of dollars. Well, the original movie is just so god awful bad you can't really. I mean, if you could sit through 20 minutes of it, you're much stronger willed than I am, because it's that bad of a movie. But check that out. That story is an interesting one, but it goes to show the right project at the right time with the right interest.
It sounds like they
took hits.
It sounds like they took the Ed Wood plot.
Yeah.
You know, Ed Wood would direct movies like Plan 9 from Outer Space, where you can see the spaceships on the strings and the plywood for the the cockpit of the aircraft, and Ed Wood apparently directed that, and then they made a movie. I think Johnny Depp played Ed Wood.
Yes.
You know, where he perfect. Let's move on. Perfect. It's good. Let's move on. You know, and
what's the pressure like, Doug, to be a producer in today's age of TV?
It's pretty much just sit and wait. You feel like you're part of a clock. Like, I literally just got another contract. You know, I sent in my changes, got it back in, and then of course they don't quite understand one of the points, and then I've got to re-clarify again, and it goes back. And meanwhile, you got 50 people waiting for the contract to get signed. You know, that are me. You got that done yet? And it's like everything is slow motion.
Oh.
If anybody wants to get into the TV thing with networks, it's not a game for the impatient. You have to have the patience of a saint.
So it could take a year. It could take 6 months.
It could take multiple years just to get through the development contract.
Jeez. That seems like a lot. I see. I would not do that very well in that world then, because I'm a very results-oriented person. And now.
But then in the end, anybody can just say, to hell with you, and walk away, and all that work that you've done for 4 months, a year, is just gone.
Oh.
Or your talent could pull out because your exclusivity contract runs out, which is...
And then they move. That has happened to you, hasn't it?
So, of course. I've actually been in development deals where the talent says, I think I'll do this because your contract's up. Or they just want out of it. What are you going to do? Make them do a TV show?
Yeah. So the talent, though, are the ones that really have the power, because they can...
It's everybody. It's really everybody. You know, and television's a big team thing. You lose one player, and everything can just crumble.
Yeah.
So
that's sad state of affairs. It takes so long. It really is. But I suppose we should at least attempt to do one news story, right? We should maybe actually do one, or at least. What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about meditation? Or do you want to talk about science is finding that blue-green algae can fight cancer? Or do you want to talk about ghost hunters quitting and selling all of his equipment? You tell me. It's your choice. Right. Or do you want to talk about how T-Rex was not as dangerous as everyone thought?
Is the algae one good?
You know what? Let me get into it a little bit for you then. I'm glad you picked that one. I'm glad you did. And green algae.
Hold on.
Okay.
We got to figure this out before you read the story. Is it algae or algae?
It's algae.
I hear it pronounced algae all the time.
Oh, whoever you heard it pronounced algae at, they are completely wrong, and they should go back to grammar school.
No, all the time. Algae.
It's algae. It has always been algae, always will be algae.
With you. So go ahead and read the story.
Okay, blue-green algae, or for all you people in the audience that don't agree with me, algae, are some of the oldest organisms on Earth, appearing in the fossil record over 3.5 billion years ago. But there are some new twists coming along down the pipeline that we did not know about. That new researchers have found that blue-green algae could hold the keys to fighting cancer. Interesting. So basically, they can synthesize. They're believing that they can synthesize cancer fighting properties out of this blue-green algae. See, blue-green algae is actually very toxic. You could die from it.
Yep.
It'll kill you.
Well, yes.
And so they're gonna take that toxic. I'm nutshelling this for you because I know you hate it when I read a whole article, many, many pages. They're synthesizing. Biologists are taking the dangerous part of the blue-green algae, and they're turning that into a medicine to fight cancer, which I found really interesting because until now, there was no redeeming quality for blue-green algae to exist.
Sure.
I mean, it was just a blight on our lakes. Dog days, summer would come.
But it's part of the food chain.
It is. It is. And what? No, don't eat it. Don't eat it. You'll die.
Some creature is eating it.
I would imagine somewhere along the way, there's something out there that eats blue-green algae, and I would have no idea what.
It's part of the food chain.
It is. It's an actual animal, though. This algae is considered to be an animal.
Kind of like
you know
sperm.
Kind of like what?
Like
did you just say sperm?
Yeah, that's what I said. Sperm. It's kind of like that. Is that an animal? Do you think sperm swims?
Oh, dog. Oh, dog. Dog.
Oh my God, I can't breathe. The look in your face was pretty.
Okay, well, anyhow, getting back to the important part of this is they're making this possibly miracle drug that will save us all from extinction. And we're going to run a break because we have our guest calling in.
Okay, now you're sideways.
Oh, hey guys, we're going to run a break really quickly. And when we come back, we're going to be talking Bigfoot with our guests. Don't go anywhere, guys. We will be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com, then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Highcheck. A great guest for you guys tonight. Two of them, in fact. Two for the price of one. We have Shelly, Covington, Montana, and Michael Waldie, right? Am I pronouncing that right? Correct name?
That's it.
But anyhow, they are both citizen scientists and they're Bigfoot researchers. And let me tell you, judging by my off-air discussion with them, they're going to be blowing your mind about what they're doing, and I'm really excited to be talking about that tonight. Shelly is a native Texan, known as a wildlife enthusiast and a Bigfoot researcher with a passion for conservation and preservation. Shelly has searched for the truth for many, many years, has been fueled. Her husband's very supportive, as she mentioned during our post-interview, or our pre-interview before the show, and she's had her own encounters.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Streaming only on Peacock.
John Wayne Gacy killed 32.
Straight from the killer's mouth.
They want you to believe that I alone committed these murders.
The new gripping 6-part documentary series, John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise. All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
And in the winter of 1982, in a forest in East Texas, hopefully you'll talk about that encounter as we move forward. Michael, he was born and raised in the great state of Texas as well. He has been an avid hunter and fisherman most of his life, and now is a very active Bigfoot researcher. Having spent so many years in the woods, he never thought that he would be using his experience to search for the unknown creature, for an unknown creature like Bigfoot. Well, welcome to you, both of you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, we talked earlier, and you guys got some really cool things going on, and we want to definitely touch on that. But I guess we kind of talked about it in the intro a little bit, but what got you guys really interested in Bigfoot? I mean, sightings for you, of course, Shelly, like you kind of said. And then, but Michael, what got you into it? So I'd like to hear your own individual, what brought you to the Bigfoot table, so to speak.
Go ahead, Michael.
Being involved, with wildlife, I was out in East Texas doing some fence work, and we was out camping. It was back in '91, and I had a vocalization probably around midnight that I couldn't figure out what it was, but it was so loud it had to be a mile away, and you could tell just from the distance. It still had mass to it, whatever made that big holler. Sound like Godzilla, It was just some big vocalization. That was 91. Then, march on to 95, and 6 miles away, I was doing a late night hike with no flashlights, just a bunch of us friends, trying to scare each other. And we was doing a nature walk around the backside of this lake there. It's unimproved area, just nature walk. And something was following, and you can hear it stepping. And then when we tried to, as I thought it was a person following. But as I went to scare it off, them off at that time, I was thinking, it tore big stuff up just crashing through the trees. So I didn't know any of that, of what it was, until 2004 when I seen a sightings map, and right between them, that 6 miles in the middle, was a road crossing, and that put it in my vocabulary, or possibly what that might have been.
Sure. I mean, it had to change. I mean, when you heard that, because being a woodsman, you knew pretty much every animal out there, right? I mean, you know, if something howled, you knew what it was. And,
it was a
hearing
big, long howl.
And so it was definitely different than anything you heard before. Did it kind of, I don't want to say scare you, because I mean, but it definitely intrigued you, I'm sure. But
well,
when you're looking for, oh, go ahead, sir.
Here's the rest of the story. So, you know, it was about an hour later, and we're just hanging around a campfire where we were building this fence. There's no building, nothing like that. We're just camping and building fence. And something I can hear moving through the trees behind us. And the buddy I'm with, when he could finally hear it, I had realized it's not coming toward us. Whatever it is moving along behind us. But the hayfield dips into the trees, so we'll go around there and head off whatever's coming across there. I thought that was both of our ideas, you know, but as we get over there, I've got the light and he's got the rifle, and it's just pointing everywhere, bouncing all around. And I asked him to hold the gun still. He said he couldn't keep his knees from shaking and handed me the gun. But turned out to be an armadillo, but that's what the vocals did to him.
I don't blame him. I mean, in some ways, I don't. I mean, it's big animal. You don't know what's out there. You're in the dark. I could definitely see being a little shaken.
Well, that's what just started opening the chapter of, you know, what's going on.
Yeah. And then I know Texas has been a hotbed of sightings for a long time as well.
It has. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I remember back then, you could almost memorize all the sightings and reports that was in Texas. It's flooded with them now. I mean, people are coming forward.
Mm-hmm. And what do you attribute that to, people coming forward? Is it just because it's more accepted now, Bigfoot? Like shows like Finding Bigfoot and stuff that like Monster Quest?
I was going to say Doug Hodge.
Yeah.
You know, shows like his got people to come out with their story instead of, you know, staying back. It's not as crazy as it used to be. I mean, to some it still is, but it's not to most. There's a lot more believers than there was.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, both of you, what is the reason that Texas is such a, you know, good habitat? Because everybody thinks, oh, it's too hot down there. You know, there's no trees. People don't really understand all the variety you guys have down there. But why don't you, maybe Shelly, you can answer that question, but just kind of give us an overview of the environment.
Well, honestly, I mean, what we've noticed as of late, really, the hot spots, which I would say are further east Texas, you know, along the borders of Arkansas and Louisiana and Oklahoma. And of course, the Red River, you know, borders between Oklahoma and Texas. But you also have these beautiful tributaries and other actual river systems like the Sabine and the Brazos River over a little bit west from us. And those areas really seem to have the clusters that I look at as far as repetitive either sightings and calls over, you know, in clusters of years. Say let's a couple years, 2 or 3 years, you may have, you know, 4 or 5 sightings in that one specific area. But one of the things about East Texas that is really a lot different from anywhere else is that we still have some old hardwood forest mixed with your pine forest and some old growth and a lot, like I said, a lot of waterways that are, I think, that lead into these man-made lakes. We only have one actual natural lake here in Texas, and the majority, everything else is man-made. But all the tributaries lead into those lakes, and the headwaters and these hardwood forests seem to be somewhat of an attractant, and it's not consistent in the sense of every day or every year. It seems to be happening in clusters where, let's say, every 5 to 6 years, then you get this outburst of these little clusters. Now, I'm sure that has a little bit to do with somebody in town saw something happen, and so other people talk. I don't necessarily know if they're always embellished or if there's really something happening, but the clusters seem to be, actually around these tributaries and these mixed hardwood forests. So that's what we're looking at right now, and we find that there's some intriguing stuff going on there.
It's interesting. I always wonder, though, because a good portion of Texas is arid.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be more focused or concentrated into a smaller, area in Texas, where you go to California or the Pacific Northwest, they can be pretty much anywhere. Mm-hmm. But isn't it true? I mean, water's either real abundant there in certain areas, or it's kind of rare in other areas, correct?
Correct. I mean, in the East Texas area, it's basically the main tributaries. I mean, you don't have the babbling springs everywhere like you do in other states, the Pacific Northwest and California and even Oklahoma. But one thing that I find interesting that I was looking at with these clusters is if you look at primates, the great apes, they don't necessarily mate every year. They're, the females will mate every 4 to 6 years, depending on which species, which kind of coincides with these clusters that I'm interested in. And so I don't know what it is about the South or Texas. And like you said, Doug, it's, there's a lot of people in Texas, and there's a lot of private land in Texas. I mean, 96% of our state is private land. So I think that a lot of these tributaries are actually movements, where, I'm sorry, ways where these animals or whatever they are moving. And as well as I do, where agriculture meets forest land, that's where the animals are really abundant. Not just Sasquatch, but all animals, and it all starts from, you've got little tiny, cottonmouths in a hayfield or a grain field. That's going to attract everything else, every other predator, from the coyote to the bobcat and on up the chain. So why wouldn't Sasquatch do the same thing? And I think it's a little bit of everything. Why more now than before? I just think there's more people now. Our state is growing leaps and bounds with people moving in on a consistent, and has been for the last 50 years. So I think the encounters are probably more consistent because you have more people seeing things. So that's just a little bit of what I think. I'm not sure, it's just a guess.
Yeah. Well, it's so much of research is.
Mm-hmm.
So you've never even had a sighting, have you, Shelly? I mean,
I have. So my whole thing started as Joel was reading in my bio about, actually in 1983, it was my husband that had the sighting in East Texas.
Right.
And he had talked about it for many years, but he wouldn't say what he thought it was. It was just something that was circling his camp. And basically, he says he was invited to leave. And so he drove over his campfire. I mean, he was scared to death, and spent the night in town next to a gas station. But when I finally really questioned what he was talking about, I asked him, "Are you talking about Bigfoot?" And he said, "I just didn't want you to think I was crazy." So I knew from that point on that I needed to find answers. Our children had grown up, so it was really kind of a serendipity thing. It just kind of all fell into place. He was super supportive about it, and I went on this huge mission for like 4 or 5 years of just in-depth 12 hours a day research online, whatever I could find out. And then one thing led to another, and I'm asking people about their areas, interviewing people. And my father is a state law enforcement DPS narcotics agent or lieutenant. And I knew when I did this that I needed to be really factual. I mean, that's just the way it is with the way I'm raised. So I was watching a lot of things about DNA and hair and noticing that people were just, they would say, hey, I got some Bigfoot hair with their bare hands. And they just didn't seem to have any tools. So I was interested in tools. What could help me, on this journey? And one thing led to another, and I started creating these wildlife DNA kits because I feel like Bigfoot should always be last. But I wanted to be on the right track, so I wanted to be able to check myself. Anyway, I ended up in the Pacific Northwest, and as of right now, I try to go out for 4 months every summer from June to October and stay out there. I drive by myself, and I'm with others sometimes, but the majority of the time I'm alone. But I was in a specific area in Washington State near Rainier, and some crazy activity started happening. I wasn't really believing it. There was a burn ban. We had no campfire. We had no lights. And something came off the ridge and was just massive, humongous tree knocks that sounded like gunfire. But the odd thing was it got closer and closer. And this went on for 2 nights. I mean, long story short. And I have all this on audio. And there were 2 of them knocking back and forth as me and this young man I was with were laughing and in the dark. And it was a blue moon. And it was August 1st, 2015. And it crashed through the woods. It knocked on trees, making birds fly out over my camp. And then it walked out. And this massive, humongous silhouette, a black silhouette, just glides down this hill. And I saw it 3 times. And I cursed a little bit and was like, what is that? And
to show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired fitness celebrity Billy Blanks.
Okay, everybody, our car just got a broken windshield. How about we blow off some steam? Now punch, now kick.
Mr. Blanks, there's no need to be stressed. Geico makes it easy to file a claim online, on the app, or over the phone.
Yeah, but what if I never hear back? That's going to make me want to go jab and jab.
Nope. Your Geico claims team is always there for you.
Okay, do I still get my post-workout protein shake?
Sure, Billy. Geico, great service without all the drama.
My partner looks and he sees it as well as it turns, and he sees the light through the arms. And it headed towards the other one in the elk meadow, and then that stopped. And nothing else. And it had been going on for 2 days. And it would start up every day and just go on all night. And I told the gentleman that was sitting next to me to please not say anything to me, but just draw what he saw the next day, and I would too. And our pictures actually matched up. And then I had another encounter the exact same place 6 days later with rocks and very large sticks flying through the air at right before dawn at a tree next to my tent for about 30 minutes, and I have that on audio as well. So
wow, it sounds like you're getting invited to leave.
Exactly. Well, I didn't. The weirdest thing about the first encounter, I was in disbelief. I was like, really? I'm coming to the Pacific Northwest to find Bigfoot, and he's here? No, that's got to be something else. But after 2 days of investigation and measurements, and I'm with some extremely really disciplined individuals at this time, and I'm still work with them. But the thing was about the rock throwing, if it wanted to hit me, it would have hit me. You know, it was literally, I could feel it hit the tree and bounce off the ground, and I could feel it up through the tent, through my pad, and it woke me up. I mean, I was frozen in fear because I didn't know if it was standing there or if it was what was going on. But after a while, I figured out something's throwing something at this tree. What I feel like, I don't know if this is correct, but from all the rock throwing reports that I have investigated, I feel like they were not trying to make me leave. They were trying to get me out of the tent, all of us, to assess how many of us were there in their area. Like, it felt like to me, they just want to know how many of us there are, and then they go on about their business so that they can kind of keep an eye on you. You know, I mean, lots of animals can count. Horses can count. Chickens can count. You know, all the great apes. You know, they're known not to attack. Chimpanzees will not attack another troop if they're outnumbered. So it just felt to me, and through all that I've looked into about rock throwing, they just want to get a better view of you. Because think about it, when you hear this, a rock lands in the middle of camp. What do? We run over and look at the rock. Yeah. Instead of the creature looking around the tree, he puts us where he wants us.
Yeah.
So that he gets a better view. I mean, that's just a stretch, but you know, that's kind of how I feel about it.
You know, I mean, rock throwing is the most common thing that happens to people, whether they're out researching or they're camping. Is this rock throwing? Michael, have you had rocks thrown at you too?
We actually there's a cabin that we rent, you know, the past few years up in southeast Oklahoma, and we had flares on tripods looking down the mountain, and you know, we just more or less became the spectacle. But what sounded like acorns falling on the cabin tin roof, you can hear them rolling. You know, that rolling sound of an acorn when it hits a roof. Yep. And then go off. Every once in a while, you hear a blocky sound. And the next morning, I got up because this is on a mountainside. The back of that roof is real close to the ground. You can just get on a generator, get up there. And it was full of rocks. Well, I don't know who was there before. Me and another guy got up there, and we walked that roof for about an hour. It was about 80 feet long. And we cleared all the rocks off of it. I mean, back and forth, just, you know, not buddy walking, just back and forth, our individual self, getting all the rocks cleaned off that roof. And that night, we still had that same sound. Every once in a while, the blocky sound. And next morning, got up there and looked, and we had 13 rocks up there about the size of a rich tracker. And we got audio of one, you know, that came straight off the roof and then hit the ground by the audio recorder. I mean, yeah, that's the only rock throwing I've had. But, well, and a couple of times there was one time out in Thornton's Well, I dropped some audio recorders. And when I'm driving off, you can hear what sounds like, you know, tree knocks going on and rocks. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in that audio.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when they're throwing the rocks, like at your cabin, it's just, do you believe it to be like a harmless attention getter?
You know, it's so remote from where that if you go out in front of that cabin 30 feet, you can't see a person standing down there because it's got, you know, kind of growth and stuff. Yeah, I think it was whenever we'd calm down, you'd start hearing the rocks, you know, land. Because we basically just sit down like in front of a big screen TV. I had 55-inch wall mount TVs, except for our ratchet strapped the wall mount to a tree, and we had a couple of them out there. We just sit and watch them like, you know, we was watching TV. They had the flares hooked up to them.
You know, you guys are showing me some of your equipment earlier, and I gotta say it was pretty impressive. I mean, those FLIR cameras have come a long way in, what they can see deep in the woods. You guys caught anything with those FLIRs? I mean, what's the coolest thing you guys have, or most intriguing thing that you guys have caught with your FLIRs in your investigations?
Man, that's still a journey. Just known wildlife. That's what we've got on it so far. But it all come together probably about October, and I mean, there's a lot of ramen noodles to get where we're at, with this stuff. So there's still a long journey ahead. But the way we got it, I think I showed you a video earlier. With the combination, it's quite a little setup, and still a journey to go. We've been out, a lot. We've been out a whole bunch. Lots of southeast Oklahoma, lots of East Texas. And it's going to be happenstance because we're scanning everywhere. We're rolling walking speeds. We're rolling at faster paces. We're trying all kinds of different scenarios. Maybe we look suspicious driving slow. Maybe, we look normal driving fast. We're just trying a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And see what elicits a response. Oh, go ahead.
Well, one of the things about the thermal imaging that I think is a really awesome tool, other than, a lot of people look at thermal imaging as measuring heat when it's actually measuring long infrared light. But there's some interesting effects you can, it's not just looking at critters. You can literally, like with mine, you can literally see footprints, maybe just for a second, but you can also see handprints on certain objects if they're cold enough, and or vice versa. So we're learning how, there's a lot of investigating about. One thing I learned with the thermal, which I've had other thermals before, and the thermals we have right now are pretty, well, Michael's had his a little bit longer. I'm still waiting on another one, but, it's pretty new, but it's super strong. But one of the things I learned about thermals a while back in wildlife was birds don't usually fly away because of sound at night. They fly out of their trees at night because of vibration. You literally have to hit the tree. You can't make enough noise to make that little bird move, because we've seen plenty of them. And that is one thing about my encounter where the birds were coming out of the trees, is because it was hitting that tree. So that, or something was. So for me, that is a very good lesson on what was going on with those birds. It was something actually created a vibration in that tree through basically a tree knock. And I'll send you all that audio. I think you'll find it really intriguing. But another thing is, another partner of mine in the Pacific Northwest was therming what looked like a Sasquatch sitting from the back, or an ape type figure with the coned head and all of that, sitting down on the ground. Well, it gets up and moves, and it's actually a mountain lion. So the thermals are really great about discounting so many things that people make assumptions about because of noise and such. And we're doing a lot of we're wanting to do a lot of experiments with the thermals. And Michael, he has his mounted on top of the Suburban. We use that to spot a heat signature or a cold signature, and then mine zooms in on it. And then we've got some other kind of cool ideas about a 360 thermal that we're thinking about building. And so Michael can tell you even more about the thermals, but they're super handy.
I think a 360 thermal, having that all the way around, capture, that would be great. I mean, that would have it completely covered.
Everything is going to go 360 soon.
Well, I mean, my goal is to be able to cover our entire camp 360 from outside camp and from inside camp. So if you look at thermal, it will not go through glass. It actually gives you a better reflection than a mirror. So what I'm thinking is if I get a glass bowl shape and put my thermal facing the bottom of the bowl, it will give me that 360 image. It won't be perfect, but think about if you could get the same entity coming into camp at different views with different cameras and one of them be 360.
Sure.
So I don't know. We're trying to think of how to build it.
I think that that's what's going to push the field forward, though, is those kind of thoughts, those kind of try this. I mean, experimentation is really what keeps it driving, right? Because obviously, if what we're doing works, Sasquatch won't be thought as unknown; it'll be known. You know. So you got to keep pushing. You got to keep trying new things. Because if you don't, it just becomes stagnant, and we're left with the same questions.
Yep. Absolutely.
Michael, you've spent probably more money than any researcher I know trying to get answers. Isn't that probably true?
Well, see, I think this year we're probably close to 30,000. Just trying to get, answers. Well, actually trying to get the edge with technology. That's not including, the expenses. I mean, I've got a recurring, monthly expense of around $350 just for research. So, but yeah, would you like me to pull up that video?
Sure. Yeah. If you'd like to, we'd like to see it.
Let's see if I can get to that.
That's the one thing about, I think, while Michael and I work together so well. I met Michael probably 4 years ago at a conference, and he approached me about, we were just talking about science, but I'm lucky and Michael's lucky that our priorities are into the research and actually being okay with spending that money. I mean, my expenses run about $10,000 a summer just to travel, and then the equipment, like what he's doing to his vehicle, what I've done to mine and wore it out over time. But we're both willing to put that first in what we do, whereas I know a lot of people necessarily can't or don't. But it's great to have someone I can speak to and say, hey. And he does the same with me. Let's get this camera, and we're both on agreement with it.
Yeah. I think money, is one of those keys. One of those things. You need money for the technology, money for doing the research. A lot of researchers just aren't in that position. Either they have families or what have you.
Right.
You can't justify the expense.
Well, I look at it this way. I would rather buy batteries for a month than go buy a new outfit, or a dinner.
This is your new home speaking. I know you haven't moved in yet, but I need some favors. Could you dust the blinds? The dust makes me feel dusty. Also, we could save a lot of money if you bundled your home and car insurance with Geico. It's super easy to do online or over the phone. Last favor, when you move in, could you stick to one aesthetic? The last owner had a weird mix of floral wallpaper and nautical tchotchkes, and I can't have another identity crisis.
Geico. For bundling made easy, go to geico.com today.
Introducing Peacock, the new free streaming service from NBC Universal. It's hit movies, current shows, live sports, trending bits, and timeless hits. And that's why you can't not watch. Peacock. Watch for free, upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com. Law & Order SVU streaming now.
On Friday night, or, that's the difference. It's not. It's
all
just
about priorities.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's just where are you putting your money? So, and Michael and I are totally on that playing field, and my husband is too. So it works out great for us.
Yeah, because you can spend as little or as much as you want to in this field. I mean, I know great researchers that go in with a camera and they go in with recorders. I'm very minimalists, and they're getting some great responses. But in order to get that holy grail evidence, something that's beyond just a story or an audio track, something that can go with it, that's photographic evidence, you got to spend the money.
Right.
So do you guys think that these creatures are dangerous or completely harmless? I mean, you've done so much research, you've got to be feeling pretty comfortable, and you probably don't get scared. I mean, Michael, you go out alone constantly and do these live feeds, and you're alone. And so obviously you're not afraid.
Oh, well, there's a couple of things I do before I go out there, and one of them is a bowel movement. Yeah, I mean, it's still scary. One of the areas I go, it's got a history they call the Randolph Bottoms Monster. That's mainly where I do a lot of my live stream because it's just down the road. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like my little fix. When we don't get to go out during the week, that's when I do the live stream. When I get out there and just do a little hiking because it's not too far, and it gets everybody else the same, break from not being able to go out during the week, watch some live stream.
Yeah, but you both must be under the impression that these creatures at least show restraint. They'll throw rocks near you. They don't hit you.
Right.
I think that when you're faced with something that size, it's going to look aggressive, even if it's got a baby face. Yeah. It's going to look like it's charging you just because of its gait. Everybody's claiming to be, bluff charged and chased, and it may just be purely innocent.
Yeah,
just intimidation.
I've been out alone a lot, but primarily in the Pacific Northwest, where the forests are vast and there's not as near as many people. And I'll be perfectly honest, I would much rather go out there and spend 2 weeks all by myself, which I've done, versus a night in Texas or Oklahoma, because there's so many more people. I think the Sasquatch is, like you said, Doug, there's some kind of restraint there. And whereas here, there's no restraint with people, people on people. So Michael's brave, because I've run into people in the woods and I don't like that. I'd rather run into a wild animal.
I was just about to ask, what kind of predators and what kind of people can you potentially run into on an investigation that can make it treacherous?
I've had that a few times, but they're usually people up to no good trying to steal things in the middle of the night. So, but I'm from Texas, so I put on a stern face and carry a big gun. But
I was invited years ago to go to the LBL, Land Between the Lakes, in Kentucky, and I went. A buddy of mine named Steve, and he said, "Hey, I'll take you to the LBL, and we'll go through there." And I didn't even know what to expect in the LBL. I mean, I've heard about it. Everyone's heard of the Land Between the Lakes, where all the big monsters seem to hang out. We didn't see a Bigfoot, but we sure did run into an illegal still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
stuff like
scary.
that. And they were actually very nice to us. Once they realized we weren't there to do anything. And luckily, the guy I was with knew one of the guys that was there from town. And he said, "Oh, that's just so-and-so. Don't worry about it."
Mm-hmm.
But it could have gone a lot worse. I mean, who else is out there that no one knows about? And, and I kind of was thinking that, well, geez, I mean, who else might be in these woods, especially with the rise of methamphetamine, stuff like that. So you really got to be careful. And that's something that was mentioned to us by the local law enforcement out there when we were getting ready to go out. I stopped and talked with them, some of the locals, and they said, yeah, be careful because we have a lot of those labs out here now. And you may run into some people you don't want to run into.
Right.
So,
well, Michael's super, super brave because he walks through the woods in the dark. by himself. And I'm blind as a bat, and so that's not me, not here. But Michael will do that, and so yeah, he's super brave dude.
That is pretty brave.
I got that Suburban set up just for meth heads. If I'm off hiking and I don't want my truck to be left behind and somebody ransack it, so it's got these little proximity sensors that I put on it. It's got a bed and everything on the inside. I did a lot of extras on it, but if something approaches either side of that truck, it puts on an LED light bar on that side and lights it up. And it does that no matter what side you're on, that light will light up. And on the other side of that spectrum, when you flip the switches and you're sleeping, it beeps on what inside these little lighted buzzers and tells you what side something's approaching on.
Gotcha. That's smart.
But I'm safe when I hike that way leaving the truck. They'll think somebody's sleeping there with that light flashing at them.
Yeah.
Safety. So I've got a question. How do you guys think that this thing is going to get solved? Do you think it's going to be some amazing footage or a body or some hunter's going to kill one? How do you think this is going to come to an end? It's going to come to an end. It's got to.
Alba Vernix.
There you go. Could be one way.
Well, I mean, that is just like the best thing out there right now. It just was so awesome to me. It was just, Michael can tell you, it just excited me so much. I mean, you can find a handprint and a face print a lot easier than you can find a strand of hair. Yeah. And you can take multiple amounts of samples off of one face print. And, and Doug, all the work you've done on that, I am just elated. And I think it's the start of a whole new idea and getting people excited and actually thinking outside the box.
So why don't you guys explain what you're even talking about? And this really kind of came about with the face print, the case of the grocery bag, the infamous grocery bag. Michael, can you talk about that case?
Well, yeah, we could talk about it. It was, this is what, aside from the face print, which was really special, I had just heard a podcast you do, Doug, about looking for this waxy residue left behind.
Yeah.
And then we get this report on this face print, and it's just exactly, and these people are unrelated. It was like the chain of events that happened. And Shelly's all about, forensic, collection. So she's got these little, I was just fixing a show, that there. That's why I kind of disappeared for a second. But let's see.
Well, I mean, it was a coincidence that you heard the podcast about me suspecting that this white substance was maybe special. Wasn't human sebum or skin oil. That it was waxier, thicker, oilier, and that there could be maybe a molecular difference between that and human sebum. But you hear that, and then what happened then? So you hear the broadcast, and then you both get a call. What happened?
Right. So we get a call on an encounter in East Texas, an ongoing encounter that had started off for I think it's 10 months, all the way up into the point of the face print. Part of it was, we'll start with the beginning there. They had I believe it was late December, early January, this house they live in. Now, mind you, I'll give you a little visual. It's way down in the bottoms, lowland, like she was talking about, old growth, trees. It's just deep bottomland, kind of a highway tributary. You know, they got a travel lane through there. It looks to be, and they built a home in their area. They've got chicken coops. They got no blinds on their windows. They don't know nothing Bigfoot. They don't even know social media. They barely know Netflix. I mean, this is the family. So they're down there all the time in the woods, feeding deer, shooting hogs, and they come up there one day to their house, and they're sitting in their vehicle before they go in, and something comes up and slaps the window of the vehicle so hard it shakes. And the woman was too scared. I call them Jane and John Doe. So Jane was so scared that she wouldn't look out the window. And then the husband got out and started looking around. But the trees are right up on the house. So they had, whatever, you know, had happened there is gone in the woods. Now, this is all, you know, just alleged, you know, what this could be. But it's all fitting the bill. And then go on up a few months later, and he was having movie night. The family's in the house. They had kids around there playing earlier outside. This is a wind down Netflix night, movie night. And he leaves to go out to his truck to get him a dip of snuff. And there's a Suburban parked, his wife's Suburban parked kind of a little further back than his truck. Both vehicles pointing toward the house, but the wife's Suburban's a little further back. And he's got his door open, looking over the bed of his pickup as he's about to get him a dip of snuff, and sees what he thinks is a reusable grocery bag on top of that Suburban. And about that time, he was thinking that, well, they left a grocery bag up there. And he said he feels like when they made, you know, eye contact, and this is 9:30 at night, it's black, you know, so he's not making any features out. He just sees what looks like something up there. And when they made eye contact, so to speak, it started coming around the back of the Suburban and started, as he says, picking up speed. And by the time it got to the back of his truck, he had dumped his snuff, and he's a concealed carry. He, you know, drew his weapon and put 5 rounds center mass, and it turned, and in a few steps was gone in the woods. I mean,
Whoa. He put 5 rounds on target.
5 rounds center mass, but he used 9mm, the criminal defense rounds, hollow points. You don't go bear hunting, hog hunting with hollow points.
No.
You know, that's basically, I mean, you're not going anywhere. You're not going through that breastplate. I'm pretty sure it inflicted some pain, but it's not, you know, anything that's going to kill something of that size, I'd imagine, since it went on after 5 shots.
And there was a little blood, but they thought he shot a man. I'm sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, so at that time, his wife and kids come out of the house, and he tells them to get back inside. I think somebody's trying to rob me. And this is where, you know, and this story, this actually was recorded, but she corrects him and says, no. She goes, you said, I think I shot someone. And so he, you know, that story, it just gives it that much more validity. Now, they, you know, he's got his brother and his dad coming. They're a close-knit family. They hunt. That's all they do. They hunt, they fish. They more hunt, though, and they catch wild hogs, I mean, by big traps, you know, where they catch, live trap them. So, I mean, they're raised in the woods, and this is just blowing his mind. He said he sat there and shot. And when he's, you know, he goes back inside the house and is waiting on his dad and his brother. And while they're inside the house gets pounded on really hard on the side of the house. Boom, 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 3 times. And his wife tells him, don't go out. They're trying to call you out. And right now, he's not thinking Bigfoot. He's thinking he shot a big guy.
Yeah,
but it doesn't
intruders.
Together until he's, you know, he slows down and starts thinking about what just happened. But yeah, so they come, they look all over the place trying to find tracks. Couldn't find tracks. Just that little bit of blood by where he had to shoot him.
Did he have penetration with his rounds, or did they find the copper jackets laying on the ground? Because I'm familiar with that particular round of ammunition.
They did not find anything but just a little bit of blood.
So he must have gotten some penetration. Wow, that's amazing that he would be able to put even with a 9mm.
You know he's a concealed carry, and he has he's experienced that he can put 5 rounds center mass and that short
in the dark.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure center mass is pretty easy at 4.5 foot.
I was gonna say center mass at Bigfoot wouldn't be that big of a feat.
He had a couple other key things that he had said. He goes, you know that sound when you're shooting something really close and you know you're hitting your target? He goes, and versus that sound where the muzzle blast just carries, he goes, this was just, everything was right there. It stopped.
Mm-hmm. I was informed, just on let's talk about firearms. I was speaking with a big game hunter that was a Bigfoot researcher, and he'd seen a Bigfoot, and he was explaining to me how big this thing was, and very experienced. He went up a big game in Africa, been everywhere hunting, and he told me to even think about taking one of these down, like viably taking it down. You would need a buffalo rifle, like a 45-70, maybe 300
I carry
mag. One. Something like that. So these pistol rounds, he was explaining to me, would just piss it off, is what it would end up doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this shook the guy so much that the next day he put security lights all the way around on his house, put in blinds. And I mean, he's got like lights that light up baseball fields, and they're not on timers. When he turns them on, they stay on all night. And now that was February. In August, he cleared out about 3 acres behind his house, cleared out, a couple acres in front of his house. And now and he started noticing, big rocks being moved from where they had built a fire pit at the edge of the clearing. They made he's got teenage boys. They made a fire pit down there at the end of, right there before the trees at the back of that acreage. And they would find them big rocks back up at the house. And now, mind you, he has chicken coops. He's got everything that says, beta Bigfoot. And now you move on up to October, and they had, the family over doing the barbecue, had the kids playing, a whole lot of fun. The wife, she's the one that stays home, cooks the big meals for big family, keeps a clean house. They're Sunday church people. They don't use bad language. Yes, sir. No, sir. Come on in and have this type people. Now she had that back window cleaned on their house, and that was the only place they didn't have blinds. And it was October 6th when she noticed, what is that on the back window? And at 6 feet 1 inch is a face print on the back glass, but it's 6 feet 1 inch to where the top of the lip is, the top lip on there. I mean, that's crazy. And having this report come across and knowing Doug just talked about this, I got a hold of Cliff. Cliff got a hold of Doug. And everything started snowballing with, getting the forensics on this. Shelly is all about, the data collection, DNA. She's got these little kits, so she was the first person that was involved on this.
Yeah, didn't you guys actually get the entire door or the entire window from him? Take it, remove it from the home, and then Shelly did her magic. So once you got the window, what did y'all do, Shelly?
So it was really pretty incredible because it was the week of the Texas Bigfoot Conference.
So that was another coincidence.
Yes, it was such a serendipity type situation. And Cliff was going to be in Texas for the conference. I was speaking at the conference. Michael was going to be at the conference. Michael gets this call from Craig Wilheater. They go out and investigate, all of this. And then Michael brings the whole door. It's not just a window. It is a door with the glass pane.
The whole patio door.
He takes the whole thing out. And the people let him and brings it to the conference, which it was great because we just flipped it to where we could protect, the alba vernix from being exposed to people in the room. And we have it in the back room. And so Cliff calls me on Thursday and says, hey, I need you to bring all the DNA stuff you got. We got some stuff we need to take care of. I said, I'm there. So, and then I knew it was going to be I knew it was a face print and we wanted to lift the print. So I used to be in cosmetics. So I had brought, finally, after Michael and I were working on, we couldn't get any actual fingerprint dust that quick. So what I used was cosmetic pigments because it actually sticks to the skin. And we knew we were going to lift this print. But anyway, brought all the DNA stuff. Cliff and I were able to just do our thing. It was awesome. I mean, I was actually, able to pick up samples of something that we knew held DNA of some sort. And then I'd heard about Doug. And so we lift the prints. We lift 6 samples of DNA and get measurement, and it's just fantastic. And we're still working on replicating the face print. And so then we got to meet Doug, and it's, everything is just falling into place, and it's going to be amazing, and the world's going to know that they need to collect this stuff.
So you lift the print.
Yes.
As I understand it, that's now in a museum.
Yes, that's in Cliff's museum, yeah.
So that's in the museum at Cliff's in Warren, Oregon. And then you meet an artist who decides to do a reconstruction of the Bigfoot to see what it looks like. So he does a forensic reconstruction. And I just got to see that the other day, and that's amazing.
It is.
About a match.
What was so great about the gentleman that did that for us is that he actually looked, he's not just placing stuff, but he was actually using measurements to where, from the what we believe is the nose to the chin, it's all uniform the way it probably should be. And without getting outside, the idea of it being possibly human or possibly Sasquatch. And it's such a convincing, he lays the print over the face that he actually created for us.
When will the public be able to see that?
Well, we just want to make sure that, we need to go back to Jonathan because we've been gone. But we want to go back and make sure that the public understands that this is just what we think it could be, not saying this is a Bigfoot that left the face print, because only the DNA results will tell that.
Well, are the DNA results in yet? I'm sorry.
No, none of that has been done yet. That's right before May 1st. It should be financed because, as you know, Joel, that stuff costs big money. But the other thing we're going to do besides is to get the chemical compounds in the actual sebum and then compare it to human. So you should be able to prove that's not human, but yet they've got a detailed face print. That makes sense.
And and the stories. And then what I also noticed, and I don't know if I told you, Doug, but I'm creating a tutorial video on how to collect the alba vernix. And any other DNA, and also your latent finger and face prints, and how to, package it all up and store it safely. So go ahead.
Well, what's so interesting about this whole thing is these fingerprints and handprints that people have been finding. They're out camping, their car gets rocked, their camper gets rocked, and then they find these big, huge handprints on their windows. And they're white. And everybody for years just kept blowing them off, going, well, yeah, Bigfoot touched my window. It can't be a human. And it left dusty fingerprints. Everybody, including me, just thought they were dust. Well, you can't do anything with dust. You can't DNA dust. And
My bet is it's skin flakes.
Well, it could be skin cells mixed with oils. Yeah, absolutely. But then if we can get 1 or 2 good fresh skin cells, you're going to have DNA, Joel.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
I've
doesn't
done
take
a
much
couple.
anymore.
Yeah,
I've
go ahead,
done a
Shelly.
couple experiments with face prints and handprints since then.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I will tell you, I don't care how my husband has a massive head. I swear he's like 10% Neanderthal. I mean, he just is, his head's so big. And so when you take a 3D image and try to make a 1D image, it's not as big as you think it would be. And so when I had him and another gentleman put their face prints on my car or my truck, I'm sorry, so that I could do experiments, they're way smaller than what when you're looking at him and then you look at the print, you're like, no way, that doesn't seem to jive. It just, the difference in the size is very surprising. And the other thing I did was I had my husband put a face print on my truck and I drove around with it to see how thick and the viscosity of the print would be. They're nothing like the Alba Vernix that we collected. The Alba Vernix we collected was the viscosity is very thick, and you can just continue to pull with your swabs, and it takes a lot to get it off. So,
and Shelly named this based on Alba meaning white, and Vernix is the waxy coating on newborn babies, which this kind of resembles it.
Yeah. And this is newborn type of discovery in what, this waxy white acidic type of substance. And I just think it's fantastic. I am just over the moon about this.
We want to get the word out because just in the last year, Joel, I found personally 2 of these. But it was before it hit me.
Before it hit you that, wait a minute, this could be, DNA, because everyone thought forever was just dust. You're right.
Could be a substance. And as you know, everybody knows, scientists are more likely to believe a chemical compound, obviously DNA, than they are ever going to believe a photograph. Michael and Shelly could go out and come back with footage better than the Patterson, and they'll go, oh, gee, that's a really good suit.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of ultimately, you need 2 bodies. You do 2 Bigfoot bodies.
But Joel, I actually disagree now. Now I do disagree with that because this experiment can be repeated hundreds, if not thousands of times all over the country.
But what I'm saying with the body, though, is we'd have the whole animal.
No, I understand that, but we don't need a body to prove their existence.
No, you don't need the body, but the anatomy you do.
But the whole idea is that these prints, Joel, you have no idea how common they are. You have no idea.
I would imagine they're. Yeah,
I talked to a guy tonight that had some on his window, but he didn't save them. But he will next time. As we get the word out, more people will be, preserving the.
Is there anything that you could put on your windows? Let's just say you got someone listening that's got Bigfoot activity. Is there anything that you could actually put on your windows to help along the process to preserve it better?
Clean it.
Well, just clean it. Okay. That's the very first step in getting to your campsite before you bed down is you clean all those windows off.
Yeah.
That way, no one's touched it. It's not yours. It's not anybody in your camp before you go to sleep.
Like a clean paper towel and just plain water.
Yeah. I mean, it's in my tutorial to clean those windows.
See, Michael, when you saw that face print, did you notice it was huge right away?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's the way the nose was smashed into that window and how high it was.
Yeah.
It was at the height of the door that was all the way to the very top of the glass, but yet it was at a position where if something was bigger, it would lean down to see right where the glass started, where the eyes would clear.
Yeah.
So, and now we went out there and kind of did a scale, like Finding Bigfoot and Bobo, tell me how high. And it was like 7'6" is where that trash bag, grocery bag would have been on that Suburban. Now,
Okay, so have you determined the...
Introducing touch-free payments from PayPal, a safe way for your customers to pay. Simply download the PayPal app and display your own unique QR code for your customers to scan. Whether you're a market seller,
I'll take 2 tomatoes and a cucumber.
poodle pamperer, piano tuner, or plumber. Signing up to accept touch-free payments for your business is easy. Touch-free QR code payments. Shop safe with PayPal.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the name your price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Creature was how big, based on the face print and...
The face print, we really can't gauge by. I mean, we got that artist to kind of do a, kind of a rendition of what he thinks it might be. But the height, we're thinking about 7'6". But we also think that there might have been others there, because with this one being injured, and it makes me think of like Ape Canyon or the siege of Honubi. Mm-hmm. After a shooting, others came back. So the beating on the side of the house, I don't think was the individual that was shot. I think it was just like a last minute, hey, just mad before flee.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think
it is something, how everything unfolded though. Within 3 weeks from the podcast that you was on, Bigfoot and Beyond, talking about that face print or talking about the waxy residue, and then this show up. Of all of them, this is definitely, you could see when Cliff and Shelly were pulling swab, when they were swabbing across there, it was not actually lifting the oil as much as it was pushing that wax back and forth. He was getting, his collection, but it was just so thick. It was just wiping back and forth.
Shelly, you witnessed this too, this really thick substance getting just smeared?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It was, literally, we're taking these, like, culture swabs like they use for COVID.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And, you're literally just pushing, what we did was it was like 3 swipes and then quarter turn, 3 swipes. And it was all... Each swab was all in the exact same, one swab would be in the exact same spot, and you couldn't get it down to clean. Like, you're doing 12 swipes in one spot, and you still couldn't clean it. It was just that, it was that thick, just, just very, versus, like I was saying, when I did, experiments, and then I was doing my video, it's like the difference between baby oil and Vaseline. Bigfoot's the Vaseline, or albavernix is the Vaseline, and human sebum is the baby oil. Yeah, that's the difference that you were seeing and feeling in it.
Good comparative.
Yes. And we know it wasn't there for long term. It was there overnight, because they said they got up and it was there, just. And if you're in their home, it's like a barnuminium, and this door is in the center, in the back, and I can imagine how it highlighted that morning when they got up and saw it, because she said, "What is that? It looks like something came and visited us last night," or something like that.
I've got some information because talked to a zookeeper through a friend, and they basically said they have trouble getting the waxy substance off the gorilla, where they're touching the gorilla, the glass at the And I went, well, that's hopeful.
Right.
We don't know yet, but that's hopeful.
Are these
Right.
particular people that the sample came from, are they still having issues of Bigfoot, or was it a one-night occurrence?
Mm-mm. They haven't had anything since that we know of. They would contact us for sure. So, I mean, it's not like they're seeing Bigfoot every day, which is a good sign, And I don't think they ever want to really have any activity anyway. I don't
blame them.
They want any of that.
So Michael, do you think that this thing could survive those 5 shots?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it probably went through some infection, period. But yeah, without a doubt, 9mm. I mean, I don't consider 9mm even close to a 45, and I wouldn't take a 45 out to try to protect myself against a squad.
Right, I wouldn't either. Yeah, it would just almost be embedded in that chest plate and probably grow a big old nice scar and scar tissue over it.
I know somebody that was shot at with a 44 Magnum that was hollow point. The guy came right up on the hood of his truck and went to shoot him while he was in the driver's seat. But the only reason he didn't hit him was because of the hollow points disintegrating when it hit that front windshield.
Yeah.
So,
hollow points are only good if you have penetration.
Right. And that's. I mean, we think about how big 8 feet is. I'm sure that 9mm just seems like a paintball gun.
Yeah. And think of we don't even know how thick their hide is. I mean,
right. If you look at a hog's neck, their
we know
neck.
how thick their alba vernix is.
Yeah. A hog's neck is super thick. It's called a saddle, or because of wild boar have those cutters, those long cutters that come out, and when they spar, it's in the neck, and they can't even turn their necks. They can't turn around and bite. So, if a wild boar has that super thick neck, you can only imagine what the chest plate and the bone plate and the skin is for, something like that, like a Sasquatch, I would assume.
Yeah. I would imagine the muscle would have a lot of deflection properties.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you guys a bunch of speed questions. I'm just curious on what you think. Just answer them quick. What do you think about all of the reports of these things kind of gliding, road crossings where they just kind of float? Everybody's like, it glided across the road. I blinked and it was gone. I mean, what do you make of those kind of reports? The gliding reports? Why don't you answer first, Shelly?
Well, I had the same thing with mine. When I saw mine, it glided. And I think it's just, I call it, there's an old term called fox walking, which is basically learning the Native Americans and indigenous people would walk on the outer parts of their souls to be quiet, when hunting. And I think these things have a way of their gait, the morphology of the body. They're able to move through the forest in the quietest of manners, and they don't bop long. But I mean, it's nothing paranormal or anything like that. It's just the way the body's built, and it's built to hunt. It's massive. They got to hide somehow. So
yeah, it's just so amazing that the reports are just consistent. It just glided. It was just moving like the wind.
It moves fast because it has a massive stride.
Yep. And so what are your thoughts on that, Michael?
I think it's that bent knee gait, just like you want to keep your eye on the ball, the head stays level.
Yeah.
I think that's where they really tune into their environment and their prey.
Have you ever tried to walk that way, Michael? It hurts.
Oh yeah, I think all of us researchers have tried it. I think we've all tried to walk with a bent knee and keep our head level.
Yep.
Not very successful.
Joel's going to do that this Friday, the entire day.
No, only when I'm hunting.
We're going to have bent kneed Fridays. You got to walk like a Sasquatch the entire day.
Instead of walk like an Egyptian, it's walk like a Sasquatch day.
Yeah. Right.
You don't have to walk like a Bigfoot. Just walk bent kneed. Just never walk your knees.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Yeah,
I've done that elk hunting. We had to be super quiet.
Why did you do that elk hunting?
Because elk have great hearing.
No. So, no. You're not getting off that easy. So you're telling me if you walk bent kneed, it's quieter.
It is quieter because your center of gravity is lower.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, it just, like I was saying, the fox walk, I would assume a predator like that, a bipedal predator, is going to try to move through the forest as softly as possible.
Okay. All right.
You don't have to lift your legs as high. I can see a lot of benefits to that.
Well, see, I had never heard that before. I've never heard somebody say it's quieter.
Yeah, I would absolutely think that.
Joel, that was pretty smart.
Well, it's been around forever.
Oh yeah,
hunters have used that for years.
Once in a while, I can draw it out.
Yeah. That is true. And then if you go heel to toe, drop your heel first, then your toe, you're quieter too.
Oh, okay.
And walking on the outside of your feet, you're quieter too. It's almost, how they supposedly the leg comes around, they're doing this. Yep. Well, that also would just fall right into that fox walk where the outside of the foot would do this.
Right. Yeah. Because these things walk in a very complex way. They're basically, their knees knock in, their legs wobble out, and they end up in that tightrope walk. They walk 1 foot.
That's the hard part.
Yep. If you've ever tried to do that, Joel, oh my God.
I wouldn't do that, no.
You're just, okay, so you got to watch. So Friday, the entire day. The
entire day, 24 hours that day.
Your knees bent. No, knees bent and in a tightrope.
Oh boy. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Hey, I want to tell you, we had this snow, and I tried that linear walk just here recently, and I think I'm in shape, and I couldn't continue it very long.
Right. Yeah, you tip over. So, okay. So some people are going around saying, well, there's, 3 types of these creatures, 4 types, type 1, type 2. So what do you guys think about that? Michael?
Oh, me? I think it's just like we have, we're regional. We got nationalities. I think it's just the same thing we're looking at with them.
Okay. So you just think it's just they're not different species, but just different by geographic.
Some are 3-toed, right? Because when I went down to Boggy Creek, the one that was terrorizing them was a 3-toed one.
That could have been. That could have been inbreeding, Joel.
No, I understand that, but there's different foot patterns too that I've seen over the years.
Could have been, could have been something else.
Okay, so Shelly, do you think that's just?
Oh yeah, it's like yeah. I don't think they're different types. I just think different regions, hold different types of. You got bigger animals, smaller animals, depending on your region, and
well, that's just.
Is it possible that terrain dictates evolution in different areas?
Well, sure, it affects. There's
got to.
You ever heard of Bergman's law? Bergman's law says, the farther you go north, the bigger you're going to be.
Mm-hmm. To conserve energy.
Yep.
To conserve heat.
Actually, it's to hold heat.
Right, to conserve heat. Right.
Yep. I guess you're right, Shelly.
Yeah.
Thing. Yep.
So,
right.
I mean, that to me is why you would see a difference between a lanky, thin Sasquatch here in Texas with less hair than the more beefy, shorter hair ones up in the Pacific Northwest. But honestly, to be honest with you, I'm not qualified to answer those kind of questions. I don't like to. I try to stay in my lane.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all you got to do is just say, I take the fifth.
I take the fifth.
Well, Doug, how big are the ones in Minnesota then? I mean, physically, when they're reported, are they
They're going to be bigger than the ones in Texas if they're not migrating, because we don't know if they migrate. They could, or some of them could migrate. Well, then Bergman's law wouldn't apply too much.
If they're nomadic, it wouldn't.
But I remember I had a guy come up from Texas who was a big deer hunter. And he ended up getting his butt attacked by a white-tailed deer up here in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And I was to film the reenactment. But the first thing he said to me goes, "Oh, my God, your white-tailed deer are so much bigger than our white-tailed deer in Texas."
They're massive up there.
And then the deer attacked him. He was in the tree.
Was he the guy that squirted the doe scent in his mouth?
No.
That's the best video ever.
He just saw this huge deer and he snuck up on it to get a better look at it because he'd never seen a deer.
Yeah.
Big. And the deer attacked him. He ended up wrestling with it for a while, got up in a tree. Then finally the police came because he was up in that tree for like 5 hours screaming for help. And then the police came and the deer attacked the police and the deer shot it. So anyhow.
Wow.
I knew a guy that was attacked
doing the
by
reenactment because I was the first guy to ever attach antlers to the lens for deer point of view.
Oh, very nice.
I also knew a guy that was attacked up in Ely, Minnesota by a deer.
Yep.
He had a vial break in his pocket of the estrus.
Yep.
Boy, really.
Yeah. Do that. Don't do that. So, but back to this type 1, 2, and 3, and 4 and all that. And to me, it's just, look how different people are.
Right.
Look how different even the sexes are. Somebody could see a female, then they see a big male, or see a young female, they're going to think, oh my God, these are different, the description's going to look like a different species.
Yeah.
So the other question, and you guys can take the fifth, do you think they're basically hairy humans or more apes, more ape-like? Mike?
Go ahead, Michael.
I think there's a whole nother branch that we work because it doesn't exactly fit with, I think it's right there between, I want to say the bonobo and human. That there's another branch in there because it's not quite, Gigantopithecus to me.
They're like the missing link.
So you think part, more evolved than apes, but kind of the missing link, basically.
Right.
Middle.
What's that? Is it the cortex part of the brain that gives you the ability to problem solve and stuff like that? I think
not me. No, I use my butt.
Been there, done that.
That's why I think they're more toward the human side because if they can remain elusive so long and so good that they have to have that part of the brain. I can't remember what it was called. It's something cortex.
Cerebral cortex? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
maybe
the cerebral cortex.
Cerebral. I can't even say it.
Yeah, it's the brain stem.
Yeah,
right. And that's the only reason I say for the human side.
Okay.
So I'm not calling them human. I'm just saying that they're somewhere between like that bonobo and human.
And do you agree with Michael, Shelly?
I think this is just my speculation. I think I'm not going to say they're human, because what I consider human is not necessarily self-awareness, but reasoning. And I don't know that I would say that they show signs of real reasoning as far as what we know. But they may still have some human DNA, but human DNA doesn't make you human. Reasoning makes you human. Prehistoric man, I'm not sure, but I think they're human-like, but primarily they're still, you know, if you look at great apes of any sort, the difference between them and us is what, hundreds of thousands of, tiny amounts, but that does not make them human. To me, if they were the type of human we were, then why didn't they evolve like all other humans did? But once again, I'm not qualified to answer that question.
Do you believe they're high intelligence?
Well, sure, but I also believe a lot of things are high intelligence. I mean, there's certain species of dog that are just basically, the dogs today are learning how to talk with certain like little pads that will say the words, and they can hold full conversations.
We're definitely finding out animals are far smarter than we ever thought.
Right. And
Take a look at a crow.
But do I think that they actually go, okay, I've got one piece of meat and I am the alpha female. Am I going to give this to my alpha male because I want to keep us going and keep our lineage? No, I don't think they do that. I think the instinctual behavior is the primary behavior. For me, all we know, for me, this is what I know. All things on this earth that are biological entities eat, sleep, poop, mate, and die. And I think that's what they do. Other than that, we don't know.
Yeah. Did you guys hear about the Expedition Bigfoot show that is claiming that they collected eDNA in Kentucky, and it came back with some chimp DNA in it? Have you heard that?
I heard it. I saw something about it, but I didn't hear that it came back with chimp DNA. I thought it came back with inconclusive.
No, chimp DNA. Of course, not all of it. But I found it interesting, maybe more than others did, because when we did the Ontario DNA, that also came back with chimp DNA in it. And I found that the only time I had heard anything similar, unless it was just, unless they copied our show.
Right. I mean, a show is a show.
I'm joking.
And so, I don't know. I mean, Michael and I are very adamant about only worrying about what we present,
right?
Because we really have no control or about what else is out there, and we don't know how legit or non-legit it is, and we're not able to spend any kind of time looking into that. I mean, I saw a little bit, but I didn't see anything that was screaming, hey, this is great. So I don't know.
No, it's not going to prove anything, but I did find it a little interesting.
Cool.
Because we ended up getting similar results.
Awesome.
Well, at the end of the day, too, your own credibility, too. I mean, who you are.
I know I have my own credibility for me.
No, but I mean, researchers. Yeah, I mean, when you look at other people's evidence, you got to kind of think the credibility where it's going. Look, I mean, you have 1,000 Rick Dyers in the world.
Yeah,
and trying to put one over.
Right, and I definitely know some of the crew on that show, and there's not a chance any of them.
No, I'm not saying they're doing it, but I'm just saying outside evidence. Period. I always gotta look at it a little skeptically.
Could be contamination somehow, even from the lab could contaminate it. But then you think, what the hell is chimp DNA doing in Kentucky or Ontario? What is chimp DNA doing in Ontario? Shouldn't be there.
Well, the thing is, like I said, Michael and I are really just about trying to. I don't get on Facebook a lot. and look at anything because I've had some bad experiences with, stuff, and I think Michael has too. And so we're just focused on our own integrity and our own, what we can do to bring forth the best research that we can. And that's a lot. It's hard, because you're spending a lot of money, a lot of time, and you're trying to figure out if you're on the right path.
Well, you guys are promoting citizen science.
Yes.
And you've actually gone so far to even develop science kits where people can collect DNA.
Yes, sir.
Even collect the sebum. Do you want to talk about some of that?
Yeah. I mean, so the kits, the Alba Vernix kit, all that stemmed from everything that happened. And so in the kit, you are able to collect every type of DNA you could possibly think of, and latent finger and handprints, and store it. And it's all up to human standards. Actually, I like to say the kit is overdone so that, everybody feels like even if they messed up, they would still be able to collect it properly. Mm-hmm. And right now we're in the process of trying to make a really thorough, short, to the point tutorial video and just get people interested in that kind of research. I think Sasquatch deserves our best. And I think a lot of people put themselves in this limelight about being a researcher versus the actual creature itself. And Michael and I are more interested in that. We're more interested in the facts and, just being assets to the community, because the 90% of the community is just just regular folks like me. I'm not super educated. I'm just a girl trying to do the right thing. And I think everybody that really is out there putting boots on the ground are like me and like Michael. And so, you are who you hang with. You're only as good as your integrity. And Sasquatch is that important to us, so we're trying to do the right thing.
Have you guys, and either one can answer it, but do you guys have a line drawn in the sand where you go, if we don't collect something good by this year, I'm going to give up? Or are you just going to go all in and never give up?
No, all in.
Michael?
I agree. No, there's no line drawn. Matter of fact, there should be somebody that makes us draw a line. So, but no, it just as long as, we're keeping it where we're trying to stay citizen science. Shelly's kind of leading the way in that. I'm kind of in the electronics part of it. I'm going to be on the technology side trying to catch things, and we're just joined up together. So I think we'll make a good team for this. But everything is not Bigfoot is what our main goal is. It's a living, breathing, animal that we're not going to say whatever evidence we have is Bigfoot unless we've excluded everything else and it points to Bigfoot.
Yeah, a repetitive, this is the thing I was trying to explain to someone about the Alba Vernix is if you can get and repeat the test and come up with the same results time and time again, whatever it may be. I mean, that right there is just the start of some really cool, ideas where I think we can, Michael said to me, it was really important. It was one of the best things he ever said. He goes, science is never going to come to us. We have to go to their table with something of value because this is ludicrous in their mind. And, that is what I've always been about is collecting something of value. Sure. I want research to be of value. And I want, people to be interested in what we're doing as a whole community, and science come and help us out, and Michael and I are all about it. I think the only line in the sand that's drawn is is that if it interferes with our friendship, that would be when we'd, kind of change it.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite lines is Monster Quest. Science tries to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Very well said. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We could talk about this all night, but we got to get going. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you, both of you guys, for coming on, Michael. And of course, Shelly, you guys are doing some great work out there. Guy, websites or anything you guys would like to put out there that people could check your stuff out? Maybe contact you if they're in your local area and they are experiencing some Bigfoot issues, or maybe have DNA they'd like you to lift.
You can contact me through my Facebook page at Shelly Covington, Montana on Facebook, and my Instagram is CryptoChick2. And then Michael, you go ahead.
Yeah, if you got any reports in the Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana area, face prints, hand prints, just send them to Sasquatch Inquisition Project at gmail.com.
Yep. Very cool. This has been Untold Radio AM. This is Doug. That's Doug. This is Joel. And we are signing off. Been a lot of fun. Till next time, guys, take care of each other, love each other, and keep looking for Bigfoot.
Streaming only on Peacock.
John Wayne Gacy is suspected of having killed as many as 32.
Straight from the killer's mouth.
They want you to believe that I alone committed these murders.
The new gripping 6-part documentary series that investigates the crimes that shocked the nation.
The thing everybody thought they knew wasn't the whole story.
John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise. All episodes streaming now. Devil in Disguise. Only on Peacock. Streaming only on Peacock.
John Wayne Gacy killed 32.
Straight from the killer's mouth.
They want you to believe that I alone committed these murders.
The new gripping 6-part documentary series, John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise. All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.